It's the Warhammer 2 Lizardmen campaign, part 5, where last time we went to war with the yellow lizards and across a couple of battles were able to take most of their territory, all the ones we needed to finish off our provinces, and we ended up getting a peace treaty with them. So we didn't destroy them, but we basically took them down, proved that blue lizards are superior, and now we're turning our focus back to the ritual system, preparing our provinces ready to get attacked the moment we start it. The game does tell you which settlements could be attacked because of the ritual system, or it tells you where it's going to happen, so you know you'll need to defend those points. So I was just building up my defences in the relevant places, and you saw I just started building my walls at one of the key locations, but for some reason I decided, you know what? I'm not going to wait to complete the walls. I think I was just really bored after fighting that yellow lizard war because I didn't think it was very enjoyable and I just wanted something to happen. So I decided to just start the ritual to see if anything unexpected might take place as a result of it. And of course some chaos just spawns to attack us immediately, similar to the last time, although they're spawning now in our own territory so they can risk attacking, or there's a risk that they'll attack places that aren't the ritual site. And they also spawn with double numbers, it's 4 stacks rather than 2. So probably no reason to actually not wait to complete all of your walls before the enemy attack, because then you don't need to have all your forces in the towns to defend them. They can go off and try and stop the enemy elsewhere, but we're just doing it this way. So these 2 stacks out here, as I said, could go and attack other things. They could go west, so I was just relying on the fact that they would be pre-scripted to go for the ritual sites rather than just any targets of opportunity. The Dark Elves declare war on us, and I noticed they were winning. They were the number 1 most powerful faction, which is pretty annoying because they're on the exact opposite side of the map to us. They're the hardest faction for us to influence in any way. So the fact that they're winning is bad because we can't go over there and bring them down a peg very easily. We'll have to just outdo them by trying to win even harder ourselves, but we're not going to be doing that for a while because we do have our hands full with this ritual right now. And indeed, the Chaos Forces, or one of the 2 stacks over here to our west, does go to attack one of our settlements. I thought that balance bar was being a bit unfair, but decided to just auto-resolve it and take the loss, and they actually razed the settlement. That was pretty damn annoying. So we're going to have to go build that back if we can deal with this crisis. The other 2 stacks, which are coming in by sea, aren't going to be as threatening. This one here, you can see, will have to take down some of my reserve forces if he wants to do anything, and when they add to the garrison, they'll probably be fine. I can even recruit monstrous units now, the Stegodon, and the other one, the Bastillodon, or something like that. I always forget what it's called. The one that's not as impressive as a Stegodon, it's just a lump that walks around. And the Dark Elves have spawned an intervention army, that's why they're declaring war on us just now, and they're just besieging capital at Temple of Skulls. Luckily I've got some troops inside. The walls would have helped if I'd managed to get them finished. Oh, well, it has walls, but the added garrison you get from upgrading the walls would have helped. We're just going to leave them there. Hopefully we can go and reinforce with our main army to get rid of those Dark Elves. And I noticed there was a pretty nice opportunity right here to actually just kill one of the Chaos armies immediately. Look at that balance bar. It's because they brought all Marauders, or almost all Marauders, in this army. And Marauders have a really low showing on balance bars. They're a very low tier unit. So that means we just annihilate them for no losses, basically. It was as if that army was never there, and we can just continue on. Those 2 Chaos armies there are going to have to go through the Golden Tower, I was noting, to get to us. We've got a small garrison there, and I'm actually going to throw a Lord in there as well to help out the garrison because it's almost certainly going to be attacked. We learned that the Dark Elves have completed their 2nd ritual, but more importantly, they've got almost as much ritual currency as us, and because we know they're bigger than us, or we suspect they're bigger than us at the very least, they're probably going to overtake us now and start doing the rituals before we do. I thought that was a problem when I was playing, but I actually now know you don't have to be the first to reach the end, you just have to be the first to complete the final quest battle. And as long as you've got a decent army, you can actually prevent any other faction from ever completing their final ritual, because it just lets you teleport to their final quest battle and join it yourself to make sure they lose. So we're actually probably quite safe at the moment. We just need to take our time and get it done eventually. Now what happens is the Chaos Forces do attack the Golden Tower, but they only attack with one of their armies. The balance bar suggests they're attacking with both. They seem to have a gigantic advantage, and I'm not quite sure why. Our army is about the same size as theirs, and our troops are pretty decent. I guess the enemy have lots of special units like the Spawn and the Hell Cannon, which gives them a lot of power there. But I was very willing to call that balance bar out and give this fight a go, especially because, as you can see, it's actually a choke point battle, so that'll make things quite simple. The fact that it is a choke point battle is going to be very key to our strategy, because we only have 2 units of spearmen, and a lot of what Chaos are bringing today are large units, cavalry and Chaos Spawn, so we need those spearmen to take most of the melee fighting in this battle. Before that though, we need to deal with their Hell Cannon. If the AI was having a good day, it could just stand still and fire the Hell Cannon at me to weaken me for a while, use up all this ammo and such. But they are just going to go right into the attack. That's going to help us out, but the Hell Cannon is still firing to get started. The first shot missed, as we saw. In comes the second shot, really hoping for a miss, and we actually get it. Pretty much the exact same miss as the first time. So I was happy to see that, and I thought maybe this Hell Cannon is actually glitched, because it's usually pretty accurate, and that seemed to possibly be confirmed by this third shot. It lands again in almost the same spot, missing just off to the corner of that unit. So either the old ones are with us and the RNG gods are among the old ones, that was just very lucky and strange, or the Hell Cannon didn't work. Either way, we managed to get the pterodons over to hack at them. Since the pterodons are a ranged unit, they have super low melee stats, so it actually takes them a really long time to bring down a Hell Cannon, as we've seen before actually in this series, and we didn't have enough time to do it. Essentially we had to get out of the way because some of the enemies started coming back. But there is something that can happen sometimes, which is once you attack a siege unit in melee, it forgets that it has any siege equipment and drops it. And that did happen in this fight, so the Hell Cannon just stopped firing and the crew started being treated as a melee unit by the AI. So that's great. Now the frontline fighting is just getting started. The enemy's Chaos Spawn just smashing through our spears. It does say in the spears trait about having a challenge defense against large foes that it cancels out the entire enemy charge bonus. I don't know if that works entirely, because you still take a load of damage and have your unit blasted apart by charges. I don't quite know how it's supposed to work. I guess it could have been worse. Basically, it probably stopped something from happening. The fight just about getting started on the other choke point as well, and helping us out over here, we've got our Bastillodon. This quivering lump that shoots lasers at the enemy is going to be quite handy, because those lasers do a lot of damage. So when there are armoured opponents like the enemy's Chosen, which they do have some of, those lasers will be able to kill them much better than actual melee attacks will. Now back on the original choke point, I've got all of these skink blowpipe troop things, the equivalent for archers, the archer unit of the Lizardmen faction. They're attempting to damage the enemy right now. There's that Hell Cannon crew just getting annihilated by the pterodons very slowly. So we're going to try and bring down the enemy's ranged cav with our blowpipes, but they're very ineffective. I found it damages them very slowly. You just have lots of ammo, so you have to shoot at them for a long time to gradually damage things. And on the other choke point, the grind's starting to heat up as all these spawn come in, and we're really relying on our spearmen to just tank everything somehow. They need to bring down all of these spawn units and fight with the enemy's heavy infantry. We're asking a lot of them right now, but because we've got so much garrison army here, it's all garrison apart from our lord, I'm willing to put units in really deadly situations. It doesn't really matter if you lose whole units. Tried to use some magic on the enemy there, but didn't really do anything. You have this special crow ability with the, I think it's the beast type skink priest, which we had in the garrison, which has this trait where it has a high probability to fail, so I think that's why it didn't appear to do anything, but it doesn't cost much magic, so you can just spam it. There's our blowpipe skinks, trying to take down the enemy marauders, not doing a massive amount of damage, but killing the enemy lord at least routs one of the enemy units. I was really glad that I recruited a lizard lord to be in this army, because having him kill the enemy lord near the start is going to help us out a fair bit. What we couldn't really stop is this little attack. They just sent some knights to go and annihilate all of our ranged skinks, and since I had everything in the melees, I couldn't really stop them from doing this, and the skinks kept getting drawn back into melee when I was trying to skirmish them out to just just shoot down the Chaos Knights, so that all went particularly poorly. But the main grind itself is going quite well, especially over here where I brought the pterodons over to just throw javelins from above and behind the enemy forces, so they have no chance to block these, and it's probably doing a decent amount of damage to their armoured troops. Their marauders, who have lower morale, starting to leave. You can't rout Chaos Spawn, but you can kill them, and they're not all that powerful, so slowly we're hacking through them using this garrison-spawned veteran lizard who just hacked through a few of them there. Pretty good stuff. And our laser Bastiladon, having done its work, is going to chase some enemies down. It's turning into a chain rout, and we do want to chase the enemy just so we can damage them a lot. This Chaos Army isn't quite done yet. It's probably still going to try and go for those ritual sites. So I just killed as much as I could. Some of it did escape. There was an epic chase towards the end as one guy escaped from all of our lizards pretty successfully. I guess we were exactly the same speed as them. And the battle does come to an end right there. In terms of numbers, we lost almost as much as they did, but they will have been losing some monstrous units like the Spawn there, so overall I think that ended up being a very nice trade. I can't actually get replenishment back for some reason there. I guess lizards don't eat chaos stuff, so unfortunately I had to go with the ransoming to get some money off them instead. But we're going to go straight back into the exact same battle, as you can see, because the second army then did come in to attack. No idea why it didn't join them for the first one. I guess the AI didn't think it needed to, so just couldn't be bothered to move it over. And this one actually looks a bit easier because they don't have all the Chaos Spawn and they have fewer cavalry. So even though we've got 2 Hell Cannons this time, we're going to try and do the exact same thing. Just to hammer home that sameness, I'm going to use pretty much the exact same formation. We're just going to stand here, and the battle will open in the same way as before as well, because the enemy's Hell Cannons start in range, and, of course, because things just can't be different, they're going to shoot that exact same spot of ground. I was ready to go and attack them in melee to stop them from firing, but the enemy army this time is actually just going to stand there and allow the Hell Cannons to fire. The right tactic, but the Hell Cannons are letting them down. As you can see, they were fixated on attacking that same bit of ground that took the pounding in the last battle. So I just sat there on triple speed and watched them destroy that bit of ground to no avail. The Hell Cannons have tons of ammo for a siege weapon. I think it's something like 40. So it took a long time for them to actually finish destroying the ground, but they didn't inflict any damage whatsoever with that attack, so that was amazing. Now their Marauder Horsemen came forward and threw javelins at our spears, and unfortunately they went into primal mode after the first hit. I wonder if when they're below half health, it just always goes into primal mode when they get hit or something. So they're going to now charge forwards and drive those Marauders back, and that means our blowpipe skinks can't attack them. Plus, they charged all the way out and tanked the entire enemy army onto themselves. A little bit of a dangerous move from them, but I guess the primal mode just makes them very aggressive. Previously, that primal thing hadn't really been a problem. This was the first case where it was actually ruining everything, so I had to move everyone forwards to attempt to support them and attack the enemy now that they were blobbed up, because they were a pretty nice target while they were sitting there. So we hit them with all the melee infantry that we could, hit them with the lasers, we hit them with the blowpipes, we hit them with the crows, or the weird crow-esque thing, whatever that magic does, which might be nothing, as earlier mentioned. It does reduce their morale, I think, even if it doesn't do any damage, so that's something at the very least. And our skink priest, who was casting that magic, accidentally got too close and ended up having to fight with the enemy's Chaos Dwarves, who came off the Hell Cannons. At least those Dwarves are picking on someone their own size. I could also come around to outflank the blob using the other crossing point of the river or valley, or whatever this thing is, so we'll be able to get some surrounds, and the blowpipes getting some flank attacks on the enemy's Chosen. Again, not really sure if that was doing anything, because Chosen are highly armoured, but it might be killing them. That was the most powerful unit we needed to deal with. I ended up bringing the Bastiladon up to point blank range just so we could specifically target the enemy. And as you can see, we actually lost pretty much all of our melee infantry. It was just our Lord in the end, tanking the enemy blob and keeping it there. But he was doing a good job. I was able to get these javelins up to attack the enemy and keep spamming the crow attack, which, while it may not have killed that many, eventually caused a chain rout as they all just suddenly left. So that was great. We got away with it. It was getting a tiny bit dangerous. We still had tons of presence on the balance bar, because I think things like this Bastiladon could have probably destroyed the rest of the enemy's army, even if we didn't have anything holding the enemy in place there. So anyway, we'll start pursuing the enemy just to kill some more of them as they rout. Our Bastardon was too slow to catch up with them, so we couldn't go ramming through them or anything, but the Jav skinks on top did kill a few. I probably should have just used that thing in melee for the entire fight, but even without that, it's a heroic victory, very nice. With that, we now know there's pretty much no chance of these two Chaos armies from doing anything. They were both really devastated by the fighting, and they certainly can't get past us to go and attack the ritual sites, so they will be stuck there for now. Our garrison damaged as well, but probably still powerful enough to fight and win again if the enemy want. We're low on frontline units there, but we have enough support stuff that we probably could stop them if they just came and attacked us with both the armies at once. They're just going to stand up there though and do nothing for pretty much the rest of their turn, so we'll have to deal with them later. First, another battle against Chaos. This is getting pretty annoying, so many fights against rubbishy Chaos armies. So it's another settlement defense, although this time it's just an open map, and we're going to be using our garrison, which is pretty similar to the garrison we had in the previous two fights as well. It might even be exactly the same in fact. So I'm just going to stand here and face the enemy head on. The only possible strategy is that I've hidden my Cold Wand Cav in the forest on the right, although I exposed them right away because I wanted to rush over here and stop all their war dogs, which were taking an extreme flank route towards us. So I'm just going to distract them over here so they don't come and fight our guys or attack our ranged skinks in the back or anything like that. Unfortunately, my Cold Ones then got attacked by the enemy's Marauder Cav, so my Javs will have to go after those Cav in a cycle of rear attacks. Meanwhile, the frontline engagement is just Marauder infantry who are going to be fighting with our Sauruses, and that's going to be a very one-sided engagement in our favour. Marauders are terrible, and Saurus are pretty good, as we've seen so much before. We can also hit them with the birds. We've got the same Beastmaster, Law of Beasts, whatever it is, that skink priest type, who for some reason spawns in the garrison. On the left, we're doing a pretty bad tactic, but we don't have much choice. The enemy are hitting us with 3 units of Marauders with throwing axes, and we're just going to take it. I've just got a unit of skinks to stand there and just absorb all that fire and slowly die, just so the rest of our army doesn't have to take it. A pure sacrifice strategy. That's going to buy us the time we need to annihilate the enemy's front line and try and take out their lord here, and it's not going to be too hard. As I said, their marauders are bad. We don't even need to use any tactics. We'll just beat them from the front. I think there are some war dogs in there as well who are going to be equally poor in that melee, so they kept routing and coming back. So it took a while, but we're getting them eventually. We're also doing some decent damage to their marauders by hitting them with our laser dinosaur and a few javelins from the skinks and the birds, of course, which may or may not be doing something. So we did even manage to reduce the amount of fire we were taking there. There they are coming back from routing for another round, but it is hopeless. We're just going to hack through the survivors and finish all of this off, and the battle comes to an end as they chain rout the rest of the marauders, fortunately running away once all the infantry were dead. So that was a very quick, close victory, just what we need, and that means the Chaos forces have now utterly failed in their attempts to stop the ritual. These forces not even attacking a ritual site, which was kind of annoying. I think it's because if you actually defend the ritual site, the Chaos forces don't try to attack them, only the intervention forces do. I believe that's how it works anyway. The survivors from that battle are just going to stand there pretty near to where my army is, so that's nice of them. We can go and attack them right away. We also learn the High Elves have completed their second ritual, and they're also doing pretty well for ritual currency, so they're catching up to us. Got this annoying debuff here where I get low public order due to gorillas in our midst. I wondered if that was caused by having enemy armies in your territory. Perhaps, but we're going to start solving that problem. That is the issue. There goes one of them right now, and that destroys the second of the 2 Chaos factions that was attacking us there. The other faction, as I said, can be safely ignored. It's just sitting there, and eventually I can send an army to kill them at some point. We were fortunate in that they didn't go after any of our other settlements or anything like that. First though, is the big problem. I didn't arrive in time to stop the Dark Elves from attacking Temple of Skulls. We do have a decent garrison inside there, so this is a very contestable fight. We're going to try and bring these guys down on the wall in our first engagement with the faction that is theoretically winning the campaign right now. We'll see how that goes next time.